Hi all. In this video, we are going to see a paper titled Example-Based Learning for Human Face Detections. This paper published on 1994 from MIT. So what this paper says about this paper is about the problem of human face detections, which is a subvariant of facial recognition. So facial recognition at those times was considered to be as like given an input face. It being going to compared against a library of known faces, and it would report if there is face recognition and the match is found. So face detection is similar to that. In addition to that, match is found. It also gives an output of the approximate location of that image occurrence in that image, and the face occurrence in that image, and the bounding box around that face, and returns that approximate coordinates around that box corners. So at those time there were not a famous neural network deep learning things. People more or less rely on some kind of template matching. So what is template matching? So it's something like trying to have some certain features for the faces and non-faces data sets, and given a query, it will try to identify with the library of faces and library of non-faces images, try to identify whether the input face is more correlated to the input correlated to the bunch of face database, or correlated to the non-batch database, certain kind of measurements. So one among the technique is like using an eigen space technique, in which like a set of faces library of faces are clustered into high dimensional vector space, and set of non-faces also represented in high dimensional vector space, and it is are clustered. So we have a group of clusters, and those each clusters are a subspace in a high dimensional vector space, and that each subspace are represented by some few eigen vectors formed from that PC of that those clustered data sets. So given an input face, we try to project it into all those subspaces, and try to have some certain threshold. So whichever within that threshold are been identified to be belonging to that clusters, and that which is promising threshold value will be determined that given query belongs to that cluster, and that cluster is belong to the face or not the face. So then another second technique is the deform of template. It's similar to that of classical templates, correlation templates. Only the thing is, and each part of the image will be taken to be projected into those cluster, and see whether those part of that image belongs to the face or not face. Image invariant is something related to the handcrafted features. We even though the faces are human faces have a different kind of variations. Uh, in terms of color and shapes, but there are some standardized features existing in among all faces, such for example, eye regions of a face are almost looks always darker than the cheeks and the forehead, and also the bridge of the nose is always brighter than the two flanking eye regions. So similar, this is related to the grayscale images. So based on these kind of things and the brightness in that, and we formulate some kind of handcrafted ratio templates. Using that, we try to detect faces in that particular image or not. So this paper is about based on these techniques, but in addition that there are some additional things have been embedded in this one, which is this algorithm can be described in 4 steps. So the first step is something like we have to take from that image 19 cross 19 pixel window pattern. That window pattern is rescaled to a fixed size, and further pre-process for certain pre-processing step has been like histogram, gradient, and all intensity, uniformization, and all those things. Pre-processing is done. Then already we the second step is we are given a data set of faces and non-faces, as mentioned earlier, like correlation templates, we try to make a clustering in a high dimensional space, and those eigenvector spaces are represented, and that has been kept in the second step. The third step is that given input image is projected into all those subspace and try to find out the distance metric, and those distance metric have been taken at an input feature to a multi-layer percentron. So then multiplier perceptron using those data sets been able to train those parameters of the neural network to identify whether that image has whether that patches of that window has faces or not a faces. So this is a very simplified technique. It's the extension of classical correlation techniques, and that is being depicted in this figure B. So we have a bunch of model. Based on that, we have clustering technology, which is represented in high dimensional space using an eigen vectors, the largest few eigenvectors, and given that patch of that test image, and we can pre-processing and resizing and rescaling to a fixed size, and those are compared and gives a difference in measurement. That difference in measurement is not necessary to have a human handcrafted threshold limit. So it itself given us an input to be a learnable input feature to a multi-layer perceptron. Then multi-layer perceptron takes control using a data sets to identify, to classify whether that has to be to have a face or not face in that particular one. Once that has been identified, we can also identify approximate location and put a bounding box over that particular region, similar to uh, so these are the clusterings, and this once that is been identified, we can put all those things elaborated in detail. But we could, since it's an overview, we have given those things what is really happening in that algorithm in a concise way. So once that is been done, we could able to identify the face and bounding box. So this what this paper is about. Hopefully, we'll come up with the next any other classical paper like other 𝐕𝐤𝐬𝐭𝐨𝐫𝐲 and other histogram of gradients, other papers before we are jumping into deep learning papers. Thank you.